Hello and welcome. I am Tiberius, and today I am continuing my interview series about getting into cybersecurity. I'm joined by Michelle Eggers, a pen tester friend of mine and also fellow colleague at NetSPI. Michelle's journey into cybersecurity is anything but conventional, with a background that spans accounting, project management, hospitality, and even roles as unique as a wedding DJ. As a pen tester, Michelle has become somewhat of an expert in the niche but critical subject of mainframe hacking, and gives talks on how to test and secure these high-performance systems. Michelle, welcome to my channel, and thank you for being here to share your knowledge and experiences with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me, Tiberius. I'm super excited.
So, usually the person I'm interviewing has a single career switch, if any, but you've worked in so many different roles, several I didn't even touch upon in the intro. I didn't know you before you made the switch to cybersecurity, but I can tell this is something you're truly passionate about. So my question is, what motivated you to get into cybersecurity or pen testing specifically? And does this job feel any different to the ones you've had before?
Yeah, I've always wanted a career that remained interesting, that would provide these sort of ongoing challenges where I could continue to grow into it. And a lot of the roles I've had previously, after a few months in, you kind of have the gist of it. It just becomes this routine, very rote. And you're doing the same tasks, the same things every single time. There's very little variance. And for me, I don't perform well when it's like that. I'm a much better coworker, employee, manager, however you want to look at it. It's better for me when there's more variety, when it's more interesting. I need that dopamine. So the fact that I was able to get into pen testing has been absolutely incredible because every single test is totally different. Yes, I have a checklist. Yes, I have processes that I will follow each time, but the results will be different. And I'd love that.
Yeah, that's honestly one of my favorite things about pen testing is, like you said, I feel like it's different if you're doing more internal pen testing, like on an internal red team, for example. But yeah, when you're a security consultant like we are, and it's like almost every week it's a different customer. Yeah, it helps to keep things fresh.
It does. Yeah, I love that. I need that. I crave it. It's very helpful.
So do you think you're able to bring skills from any previous roles across into cybersecurity that perhaps are harder to develop for those of us whose entire careers were in tech?
Yeah. So all the experience I have with client-facing, customer-facing, waiting tables, bartending, doing hospitality, retail work, being in hotels, I learned how to talk to people, all kinds of people from all over the world. I worked in Hawaii, so there were just literally people from all over the globe traveling through constantly. And you have to figure out how to interact with them, how to get a good outcome from your interactions with them, because your money is directly linked to how much they like you. So bringing that into my role as a consultant, I do have to talk with clients. Maybe I'm in a readout and they don't like what we found. They want us to downgrade something or they want to argue a point. Yes, you have to bring the technical reason. That's the foundation, but you have to sell it in a way that is palatable for them so they're not grumpy at the end of the day. And they're like, okay, I can see you're trying to help. I can see you're like a decent human and we're connecting on a level that is positive. So it makes it easier to swallow for them. They're not as pissed by the end of the call. Typically, if you have, for me, I've had a lot of chances to soothe people in person for various reasons. So it's really benefited me there. And then another cool thing I like to compare, more the job in general, but at one point I was an EMT and I would do ride-alongs with fire departments. And the whole thing about being an EMT, being an emergency responder, first responder, is you show up on the scene and you look at this crisis. There's like an immediate need. It's very urgent. And so you assess and then you gather the people or whatever it is as best you can, and then you deliver. You deliver them to the doctors, then the nurses, and whoever else is going to take it from there and actually do the repair work and keep the people alive and help them heal and do that next step. All you have to do as the first responder is keep them alive, right? You find the problem, you assess it, and then you deliver them. So it's very similar in the pen testing world, in my mind, where you're finding a need, you're finding something broken, something that needs fixing. And then you bring it, you package it, and you deliver it to the people who are actually going to take it, remediate it, and fix it, push it forward from there. So that's been something cool that has, in a roundabout way, informed how I look at my career as a whole.
Nice. Yeah. Whenever I talk to people, I think especially with pen testing, a lot of people trying to get into pen testing don't realize how important soft skills really are. Because I feel like so many people think of it as a hugely technical role, and it is, but it's also a customer facing role. Like people, I think that's the thing that a lot of the exams don't test. Like the OSCP doesn't test customer readouts, which I think the PNPT does, which is kind of cool. Like you actually have to present your report to somebody and potentially answer questions about it and talk to people. So yeah, it's always interesting when I feel like some people just don't realize actually how much customer facing work there is during pen testing.
There is a lot. And I don't even like the term soft skills, to be honest. And I've never told anyone this. You're the first person I've told this to. I mean, not liking the term, but I think it's much more difficult to have that nuance of human interaction and navigate it successfully than it is to learn a technical fact or skill and apply it. I think people are the most complex things you can learn to read and manage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. With social skills, like in some instances, I feel like you can either have them or you can't. You can definitely get better at them, but there are definitely some people who just are not very social. And it's not necessarily you can't be a pen tester if you aren't that social. You're just going to have to put in a lot of work, I feel.
Yeah, sometimes. But I mean, there are a range of roles. You know, not everyone has to be the people person, right? So,
absolutely,
yeah.
So you've mentioned to me before that you did a boot camp, a ton of networking, free training, CTFs, certs, etc. before you got into cybersecurity. Of those, which do you think had the most immediate return on investment, and which was more of a slow burner?
It's almost like a chicken egg scenario. I mean, I would not have been hired if I didn't have these things on my resume, right? The CTFs, the certs, the different volunteer experiences, it really all tied together. So, I mean, the most important thing, I don't know if you can weight it that way, but from my own personal experience, I will say that my penchant for hard networking, like real just going for like going in, like I went in on LinkedIn for a minute there and it paid off. It really did. It paid off quite well. And you need a combination of things, right, to get the best result. But if you have an individual strength that is already something you're pretty good at doing, lean in there extremely hard and then keep the other things going as well to help feed into what you're already stellar in. And I think that's where you'll find the best success. You know, don't try to become someone else and emulate exactly what they're doing. Figure out what you excel in, feed into that, but also make sure you're developing your other skill sets and other career requirements at the same time. There's not one thing you can do that'll get you where you want to go. It really is a collection of things that work together in tandem.
Nice. Yeah. And so you mentioned you went all in on LinkedIn. Like, was that just connecting with people in the industry, or was it sort of making posts and doing sort of engagement that way?
It was both. I was connecting nonstop. I was adding people. They were adding me. I was commenting on other posts. I was having, side conversations, asking questions. When I was in the interview process, I would contact people from the organizations, ask them questions about their role and the companies at large. I just did a lot of legwork with communication. It was primarily just communication, 100% all the way through, like as hard as I could do it, in as many ways as I could do it. And it was great. Yeah, it really helped me a ton.
Awesome. LinkedIn, I feel like a lot of people diss on LinkedIn a bit, but like honestly, I found it quite an engaging platform. As a content creator, it's quite an engaging platform. So I think if you use it right, yeah, you can absolutely use it for networking and just talking to people. The biggest issue for me with it was all the recruiter spam you would get. But I feel like that's sort of minimized now, at least.
Yeah.
As long as you can like stick to, just ignore all the DMs. Just stay on track and focus on just communicating with people.
I'm gonna be honest, like I love the LinkedIn shade. I think it's hilarious. I have so many memes. I got a divorce and my kids don't talk to me. Here's what it showed me about B2B sales. And I'm like, that's terrible, but it's hilarious. You have to, and this goes back to being able to read people and understand what's real and what's not, and navigate that, and kind of let the chaff fall away and find the gold and the meat in the middle of all this like weird advertising chaos, is finding real people. Like I've made actual like legitimate friends on there that I see in person when I go to DEF CON now. I have people I've known for like several years from there that I've connected with, and it generated real relationships. I would say it is definitely the minority of people I have connected with that actually end up becoming, you know, a pivotal figure in my life. But it does happen, and it's really valuable when you get that you get that bit of treasure out of all the muck. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And just obviously a quick question about like the certs that you got. So which certs did you get while sort of entering the industry? And do you feel like particular one of those has sort of most helped with your career in pen testing, and whether there's any certs that you'll get in the future?
I didn't get many when I first started out. I just got a baseline Security Plus, and then I got the ISC squared certified in cybersecurity. That didn't take very long. You know, they're both pretty straightforward. And it was more to show that I am invested in what I'm doing, and like I have just the baseline skills. As far as it helping me with pen testing, I mean, not with the actual act of pen testing, but as far as having some verbiage for the industry in general, I think it was beneficial. As far as going forward, I do want to get a more web app testing focused cert. I don't think there are any mainframe ones. I'm pretty sure there's not. There are different trainings you can do, but there are no certs really for that. So I do also web app pen testing, of course. So that will be something I'm going to lean into more this year. Maybe the PMPT, possibly OCP. Those are the two I'm looking at the most. Those are the two that are more supported by my organization as well. So those are the two big ones, I think. I kind of want to get eventually Net Plus just for fun for myself, just because I think it'd be fun to have. But that's not anything to do with pen testing. It's just kind of like a fun side project that I might do as well.
Fun to put on your LinkedIn page anyway, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about the NetSPI U program. And I want to make it clear to viewers that NetSPI isn't sponsoring this episode, and both Michelle and I are employed by NetSPI. However, I do honestly think the program is something that other companies should try to emulate. With that said, Michelle, as a graduate of the program, can you describe how it works, your experiences, and how it prepared you for your pen testing career?
It was intense. It was, ask anybody who's gone through it. Like literally anyone who went through NetSPI U, and they'll get a look on their face like, I mean, I'm trying to remember. It was a few years ago now that I did it, but we get the Web Application Hackers Handbook. It's a tome about this, like 2 Bibles smashed together. So we read through that almost in its entirety, you know, or we were supposed to. We went at the time, I don't know if they're still using it, but we went through OWASP has their training. They have modules that you can go through that relate to different vulnerabilities. And so you can do trainings to learn about it. They have, you know, these sort of demo environments where you can try to exploit using, you know, the specific thing, if it was a cross-site scripting or SQL injection or something like this. So you could train with this sort of like a CTF format, basically, like a try hack me almost. And then what else do we do? I mean, they created apps. I mean, they had different testing things that were in-house, custom, bespoke training environments as well. You know, we would do Zoom meetings daily for months for the entirety of the program. We had a daily meeting, and, you know, they would quiz us, and we had homework, and it was salary paid the whole time. Like, let me get a decent wage. It was for training. Like, who gets paid a you know, decent salary for like a month-long training program? It's rare. I don't know that I would have gotten into pen testing any other way, because people want experience. But how do you get experience if you can't get the job? You can't get the job without experience. I mean, it's classic, right? Catch-22. So I think it's an amazing program. Very smart people. I will absolutely say, and I don't want to keep selling where we work super hard, but we work with some incredibly smart people who are really dedicated to the craft and the science, really, of what it is that we do as hackers, as pen testers. I'm a big fan. yeah, I'm constantly learning things from people, and everybody has like a different specialty. So all the instructors, they weren't just like a teacher that got hired to present information. They have done it themselves. They had their own actual industry experience that they could lean into and share, which was so valuable. They're dedicated to like raising you up and teaching you and helping you fly and leave the nest. It was really, really incredible, beneficial experience.
Awesome. Yeah, and so I mean, from what I understand about the program itself, like you said, it is basically a paid internship. I think for six months to a year.
6 months, yeah.
6 months, okay. And if you go complete the program, I wouldn't say you're guaranteed a job, but you're in line to get hired as a junior at NetSPI, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah. So even if you get through NetSPI U, if you quote unquote graduate, if you complete the program successfully, you're still not guaranteed, but you still have to be taken on as an associate pen tester. And so my cohort, we lost a few people. It was really sad, but it just goes to show the quality of hire that they wanted is the bar is really high. Like it's incredibly high. So I feel very proud and a bit floored still, even now that I am where I am, that I made it to this point. It's been, a huge blessing. I feel great about it. Very, very grateful.
Yeah. And honestly, we're not going to stop fawning over NetSPI because
well, just pen testing in general. Like I'm happy to be a tester. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just think I think more companies should be doing it because people complain about how there aren't, companies are wanting experience at junior level, but how do you get that experience at junior level without having, juniors? And with NetSPI, at least through the NetSPI U program, it's like, okay, well, we're going to pay you and train you for 6 months to be a junior and give you the experience. So yeah, honestly, more companies should be doing it, should be at least training up their own interns and paying them while they're doing it. And yeah, it kind of sucks if you train someone for 6 months and you can't hire them or don't feel that they're qualified enough to hire them at that point. But I mean, that's the cost of doing business at the end of the day sometimes. And hey, maybe you train that person, they go off, join another company, and then, in a couple of years, come back to NetSPI and, because that's where they started, right? That's who gave them that training. So I think it's investing in people, which is something I've talked about so many times and I wish more companies would do.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. Maybe you lose a few, but then the people who you do retain, they will bring you so much value. They will really, really pull hard. And I don't think there's really, what have you got to lose? Why not?
Yeah, exactly. What were some of the challenges you faced when you transitioned from the training program into performing actual pen tests for customers? What was the most nerve-wracking thing you had to get over?
Honestly, when I started testing for actual customers, it was easier than NetSPI U. The training was so much harder. So by the time I was on actual tests and doing real readouts and kickoff calls and sitting in demos and all these other things and doing my reporting, I was so prepped. I was over prepared that maybe the biggest challenge was just like calming down, like chilling out a little bit and being like, okay, I know how to do this. I've been doing this. I like overabundance of doing this. I was very well prepared. So maybe just feeling that confidence, like, okay, I know how to do this. This is going to be fine. That was maybe the biggest challenge because it's not like they just drop you. They have like a coaching phase and like pods and they kind of wean you off until you're finally just standing on your own. It's pretty gradual. And yeah, the actual work itself, by the time I got to it was a lot less stressful than the training itself. Maybe that was good. I think it was good. I think it's good to be over prepared. Better over prepared than under prepared, I will say. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah. If you're finding regular pen testing as less intensive than the pen test training, I think that's definitely a good yeah. Just it is only a 6-month program. I say only. It's a 6-month program, so they must cram a lot of information into that 6 months and a lot of actual work into that 6 months. Is that? Do you feel like it was that reason? Like it was just quite a lot of stuff?
Yeah, it was. And especially for me, having this be my first purely technical role, I've worked at other technical organizations, but in the less technical aspect for my day-to-day workload. It was all the things all at once for me. First, purely technical job. First, real role within cybersecurity, of pen testing, which to me was like the holy grail of getting into cybersecurity. You know, as a newcomer, that was what I thought. You know, that was like my stars in my eyes, like, oh, pen testing. That's not for me. Other people will do that. I'll just do this other thing that's easier. You know, and none of that's really true. But as I was getting into it, that was, you know, my mindset. And so I definitely had, I felt like I was carrying like this big lift. You know, I was like, I gotta do amazing. I've got to be amazing at this. I have to really show out. I want them to hire me. I want to stay. I want to do this. And then like the perfectionist trait, never wanting to get a single thing wrong. It's like, if I get a single thing wrong, maybe I won't make it. So there was a lot of pressure put on myself as well to succeed. Yeah, and it's nice now to, like, I still have that perfectionist trait to a degree, but it's a lot more balanced in my day-to-day workload as opposed to like trying to please this jury on a daily basis. And I'm just like so terrified the entire time. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what initially sparked your interest in mainframe hacking, and why is it such a unique area in cybersecurity?
Mainframe hacking. It's so interesting. Okay, so I didn't even know you could pen test mainframe until I met Phil. Phil Young, Soldier Fortran. He's my mainframe director. And he came aboard at the organization a few months after I did. And he was in one of those meetings where they're like, here's how you do this thing in the portal for your personal information, just something company specific. And I was like, oh, there's some other new people in here I haven't seen. I'll reach out. I'll say hi, send him a quick message. Hey, nice to meet you. Welcome. Something like that. A couple months later, I see he's doing an Nmap workshop at DEF CON. I was like, oh, I met that guy, kind of. So I hit him up again. I was like, hey, I'm going to be down there. Do you need somebody to move chairs at the workshop, you know, like help out? Because I'm going to be down there anyway. He's like, actually, I need a TA if you want a TA for this course. I was like, oh, shoot. Yes, I want to help a DEF CON workshop. That sounds amazing, you know? So I'm walking around like helping people troubleshoot this thing that's like more complicated than I know what's even happening. But I'm like, okay, I know enough to help troubleshoot. So I'll do that. In our conversation about mainframe, you know, I show up, you know, we're in this room and he goes, you know, I'm thinking about getting you into mainframe. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And that was the whole conversation. Tiberius, that was it. It was like 2 sentences long. And then like several weeks after DEF CON, I got a calendar invite at work for mainframe training. Like, okay, that sounds cool. And then we just, for like a week straight, we just did like these hours-long trainings, and he's walking me through a course he had written, learning like JCL, how to submit jobs, just how to even navigate within the environment. It's very specific. And it was really fun. Like I liked the interface, even the sort of vintage vibe to it. They have newer interfaces now, but when I was doing the training, he wanted me to see, you know, like the typical environment that you would see with the green typeface and everything like that. It was cool. And I think what makes it so niche, it's not by virtue of it being sunset in any way. It's very heavily used. There are just so few practitioners now because everyone assumed maybe like 15, 20, or maybe like 25 years ago, maybe more now, actually. There was this big assumption that mainframe is going away. No one's going to use it. It's going to be gone. It's going to be sunset by, you know, before we hit the new millennium. It's going to be dead, and it never died. But in that time frame, there was a span of time where people started, they stopped funding new hires, and they stopped funding training, and they stopped putting any resources into their mainframe workforce, really, because like, well, we have these people who already know it, and it's going to go away anyways, so we don't need to bring new people in. But then it didn't go away, and now the people that they did have are all retiring. And so there's a bit of a panic building now. And then there's regulation things that are happening as well, where people are being required to test it more. So the panic is growing. So it's really only niche because there's a dearth of practitioners who understand it, who can test it. But the tech is absolutely still there and being used, and there are new ones being made. They are releasing stuff all the time with new chips, with AI accelerators on board. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, and because I know that there are going to be several people watching this, probably most people watching this with the complete wrong idea of what a mainframe is. As far as I know, and I know hardly anything about mainframe, they're basically high performance, high reliability systems, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what a mainframe is.
It's a computer. And the reason we like it is the input output speed and capabilities are immense. And they're doing billions of transactions, actual with a B, billions on a daily basis for all these smaller transactions. So it's not a supercomputer where it's doing highly complex tasks, but it's doing lots and lots and lots of them with almost no error or downtime whatsoever. They're purpose built for this reason, and they excel in this.
And like you said, the interfaces, there are more modern interfaces to them, but yeah, I've seen you do some of the talks that you've done, and yeah, it is literally like just a really old Cly.
Yes. I like it. I think it's fun. It almost feels like a video game. It's not, obviously, it's very real. These are banks, but I enjoy it.
Awesome. And so how would you recommend someone interested in mainframe hacking even just get started?
At this stage, you just have to reach out to people who are already doing it. And the best way to start working in it is to work somewhere that works with it. So, I mean, you could work at IBM. Obviously, you're going to be able to find your way closer to mainframe there, or Vanguard, or all these other places. NetSPI, of course, we're doing pen testing there. There's really not a lot of opportunities to use it. There are emulators, and you can find some mainframes online. You probably shouldn't connect to all of them.
Yeah, I think IBM has an emulator, right?
Yeah, and then there's X3270, which I actually use for testing, but you need an IP address for it. Yeah, so I think the IBM one would be a good option. IBM has some good training too. Yeah, there are resources available. There are. So if you're really deeply interested, talk to people who do it. And then there are training environments like Z Explore or IBM New Disease, a school program where people who are just getting into it, specifically with the Z systems. But yeah, it's a great community. They're really trying to put energy and effort into training people up and bringing people into the mainframe community because of what I mentioned earlier, how there's been a dip. There was a long time dip in interest. So now people are really trying to rebuild that to a degree where we have the people resources that we need.
And maybe one day we'll see a Michelle Eggers How to Pentest Mainframes course somewhere online.
I'm actually doing one for
awesome.
Yeah, for API Sec, for the API Security University guys. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's going to be in a couple of months. It's not a course per se. It'll just be, I think, one video. But yeah, I'm excited to help pour energy into the community, to just be part of it. It's really cool.
That's amazing. Yeah. If it's released by the time I edit this video, we'll definitely put a link to it in the video description.
Right.
What made you first think about even just giving talks at conventions, and how did you approach your first talk?
What made me want to give talks? I really thought it would be good for my career. I thought it'd be good for me personally to do the research that I would need to do to give the talk. It would help me have a more comprehensive view of what it is I even do. Because once you have to teach something, it's like you're learning it in a different way. Like learn, do, teach, I think is that. Maybe I said that right, but yeah. So I wanted to make sure I was also putting myself out there in the teach role in the information sharing space. That's something that we really need to do in general in cybersecurity, regardless of what your specialty is, because it's such a critical industry. And there are a lot of issues, there are a lot of breaches and scary stuff happening every single day. So for people to gatekeep information, it's just bad for business. It's just a terrible idea. Keep things open source. Just share, please, so we can be stronger. So giving a talk is my small way of giving to the community, sharing information, getting myself in that teach role. What did I do to get ready for it? I did a lot of research. I would run my slides by, someone in mainframe, someone not in mainframe. I think you even looked at some of my slides a couple times for a talk or two. It's really helpful because you're making all these slides and you're putting in all this information and you're so buried in it. It's really nice to have another set of eyes be like, well, what does this mean? Does this picture even relate? And you're like, oh, wait. Yeah. So I did as much as I could to prep and make sure I could answer questions if and when they were asked at the end. But yeah, it's scary. It's scary. I think I was on a different podcast about a month ago where I talked about just doing it scared. If you have a goal or you have a dream or this thing you want to do and it seems daunting or overwhelming, just prep as best you can and do it anyway. Just go for it. Even if you don't think you're the top person that should be sharing the information or, oh, this person's been doing it way longer than I have. What do I know? It's like, well, you know things that other people don't know. So why shouldn't you be the one to share that information? What difference does it make? If you know it and someone else doesn't, share it. And that's the foundation of giving the talk.
That was the Bare Knuckles and Brass Tacks podcast, right?
Yes.
All right, we'll leave a link to your episode in the video description as well, because
Cool.
I listened to that episode and it's very good. One thing I love about you specifically, and if you've ever watched Michelle's talks, and you definitely should, it's so effortless. It appears like you're such a natural presenter. I remember telling you that when I watched your B-Sides Las Vegas talk, like because was that your first talk?
B-Sides Las Vegas. Yes, that was my first in-person talk. I did a recorded one for Cyberjutsu Day about a month and a half prior. So that was my first actual talk, but in person was B-Sides Las Vegas.
Yeah, it absolutely insane that was your first talk. And if you go watch it, you'll understand what I mean. Like you come across amazingly confident. I mean, you should, your stuff. But for most first-time presenters are nervous and stumble over their words, and your talk was absolutely perfect. I loved every minute, and it was about mainframes, and I know nothing about mainframes, so it was really, really well done.
Thank you so much. I was definitely nervous. I was like sick before I did the talk. My mouth was all dry. But I was like, well, here we are, let's go. Like, I have prepped for this, we're doing it. And I just sent it. I think I blacked out. I don't know.
Do you have any advice then for first-time presenters other than, I guess, throw up beforehand?
Yeah, run through it like you're actually presenting it. That's something I learned from obviously theater in high school, or I have been in bands before where you're doing rehearsals and you're practicing your songs and your guitar part or whatever. You have to rehearse like you're actually going to do it. You do a dress rehearsal, you pretend it's the real thing. Mm-hmm. So actually do that for real, and do it a couple times if you can. Run through the whole thing like you're actually presenting it without starting and stopping. That helps me a lot. And then something else that really helps is have a mentor if you can. For B-Sides Las Vegas, I had this wonderful mentor, this woman from Brazil, Isabel, and she's brilliant, super helpful, gave me helped me rework a couple things in there. She didn't push any of the technical aspects, but she was make it engaging. You can have the best information ever, but if it's just a white screen with a bunch of text, people are going to zone out and fall asleep. They're coming to your talk to learn about what you're talking about, but also to see you talk about it. So give them you. And she never said that, but that's what I got from her. Is it's not just the information. You can get the information anywhere, but why do you go to a talk? Because you want to have this person give you the information in the way that they give it. So give them that. Be yourself as you do it, and that will really make it that much better. It will improve the quality by far.
Yeah, 100%. And I think actually B-Sides Las Vegas specifically does have that first talk mentorship program.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which I think, honestly, if you're going to DEF CON, planning to go to DEF CON, B-Sides Las Vegas is a few days before. And so, honestly, if you want to do a first talk, probably that's one of the best places to go, because You can merge it into your DEF CON trip. And as a first-time speaker, they love first-time speakers. They may even prioritize first-time speakers and give you a mentor to help you, develop your talk over a few months prior to the convention. So 100% love what they do with first-time talks.
I think it's called Proving Grounds for first-time speakers.
Yeah, maybe like that.
Yeah, fact check me, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Fabulous program, really, truly.
We'll put text across the screen.
Yeah. Yes.
So not only are you a woman working in cybersecurity, you're a Black woman working in cybersecurity. How can the industry and community at large get better at making women and minorities feel more welcome?
Oh man, the simplest solution is have more representation across the board. You have to promote from within. You have to have the representation at the highest levels all the way down through the entire organization. If I'm at an org and I don't see any women in leadership and I don't see any people of color in leadership, no Black people anywhere, I'm not going to be comfortable. I'm just not. It's something that is hard to understand if you've always had that representation, if you've always had people who look like you all around you. It can be really difficult to put yourself in that mindset. And it's like, oh, I went on a trip one time and I was the only white person there. It's like you went on a trip one time. That's very different than being, embedded in a community long term, where you have to operate in a culture that maybe is slightly different than the one you grew up in. The nuances are different. The communication styles are a little bit, unfamiliar sometimes even. So having people there, hiring people, making sure you're not just doing your recruiting through one channel, but looking into non-traditional channels for your recruiting, bringing people in, like just increasing representation across the board, I think is the biggest thing you can do to increase the comfort level of those employees. And then also you're going to make more money in the long term. You're going to have better solutions. You have more brains, more ways of looking at a problem, different types of solutions that will be generated and created and shared with that type of diverse community from all these different walks of life and mindsets and viewpoints. You'll be a stronger organization because of it. You're really doing yourself a disservice by building a homogenous, linear thinking organization. You're missing out. You won't see the same amount of success unless you lean into building a good community that represents all different walks of life and people types and cultures.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the last point in particular is incredibly powerful. And you're right. Yeah. Like there are different ways of looking at a problem, and you need different types of people to get a solution that fits as many people as possible, I feel like. So yeah, absolutely 100%. Final question. What keeps you motivated and excited about working in cybersecurity today? And do you have any long-term goals in the industry?
What keeps me motivated? Well, it ties back to what I said initially at the beginning about how there's always something new to learn. It's always shifting. There's new tech coming out. There are new developments. I mean, things are progressing faster than we can even get our heads around sometimes. I love that. I love being a part of something that is on the forefront of the developing world and what we're looking at actual terrifying challenges that could take entire cities off grid. Or, if you look at industrial control systems, we could have horrible issues. We could have water poisoned. You can have oil pipeline issues. If you look at network shortages or different hacks that have hit airports and banks and casinos and industry being shut down. These are serious real world things that are occurring and have occurred and sadly will continue to occur. So I really do feel like I'm part of something bigger that is meaningful. That's a huge benefit for me, feeling like I'm part of something that is making an actual difference, even in a small way. So I like that. And then what was the second part of your question? What keeps me motivated? And then, do I have plans?
Any long-term goals?
Long-term goals. Ooh, yeah. I love being a subject matter expert. I would like to get more into hardware and physical systems. I honestly have had so many doors open for me that have made sense. Like I know when to not pursue something, but I'm also the type of person that I like to remain open to opportunities. And when I see something that grabs my interest, I'll pursue it hard. I'll like throw my hook in and I'm like, I'm going, I'm going, I'm going. But I'm taking it a little bit, a little at a time. I don't have an end goal like 20 years from now that I'm gunning for because I didn't think I would even be here where I'm at today. So I have interim goals and I have life goals. Like, oh, I want to live here and have this type of work-life balance and travel and do these things in my own personal life. I have those types of goals more. But my career goals are to continue learning and giving back. I want to give back more to the people in the industry. I'd like to directly mentor people. I'd like to directly help manage as people are pursuing, their career transitions. I think I'm going to end up more in that line where I retain my technical skills and abilities and responsibilities, but I'm also in a situation where I am the representation for other people and I'm helping other people grow into themselves as they step into this career field that's so exciting and so interesting and very, really varied.
Amazing. Michelle, thanks so much for joining me today. Where can people find and follow you online?
Oh, find and follow. I'm not like you. I have a low profile online, but I am on LinkedIn periodically, Michelle Eggers. And I have talks on YouTube. Of course, you can look at Michelle Eggers, mainframe. I did that. I did several different B-sides. I was at DEF CON. I have a talk for IBM Tech Exchange that's up online. I have blogs that I've done, both business blog and technical blogs for NetSPI. So I've put out a fair amount of information over the last couple of years. So you can find me there, with the blogs and the talks and on LinkedIn. I'm on Discord a little bit. I'm salty Mish. So there's that. What else? Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, just hit me up. I'm pretty chill.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for joining me today and sharing your knowledge and experiences with all of us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be a part of this. You're the best.